I want to talk about the loneliness that nobody puts on the highlight reel. Not the loneliness of the breakdown that starts everything, not the loneliness of the dark night that cracks you open. Those get talked about. Those have a language. Those fit inside the narrative arc that ends with the transformation and light. I want to talk about the specific quiet loneliness that comes after. When you've done enough work to stop being who you were, but you haven't yet fully arrived at who you are becoming. The in between, the threshold, the place that has no clean name and no estimated timeline and no content that accurately describes what it actually feels like to stand inside it. You expected expansion to feel like arrival, like finally exhaling after years of holding your breath. Instead, it feels like standing in a room where all the furniture has been quietly removed while you're sleeping. Everything structurally familiar is gone. The coping mechanisms, the relationships built on your limitation, the version of yourself that knew exactly how to perform in every room because it had learned every room's specific requirements for staying safe. That version is dying, and its death is the loneliness part of the entire process. Here is what I understand about this that most healing content skips entirely. Identity is not just psychological, it is biological. Your nervous system builds physical neural pathways around your patterns, your responses, your habitual ways of being in the world. When you begin to genuinely change, not just think differently, but actually rewire the biological architecture, those pathways begin to dissolve. And dissolving pathways feel like loss, even when what they were carrying was hurting you. This is why you can know intellectually that you are growing and still feel profoundly disorientally lost. The knowledge lives in your cortex. The grief lives in your nervous system. And the nervous system doesn't respond to logic. I see this pattern in the data of this channel with complete clarity. 176 subscribers, 82,000 views on YouTube, 190,000 on TikTok, 190,000 on Instagram, 190,000 on Twitter, 190,000 on Snapchat, 190,000 on Pinterest, 190,000 on Pinterest, 190,000 on Twitter, 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 190,000 on 24 people who took the first biological step, one who walked the entire path. The people watching from the gap aren't lacking courage or readiness. They are standing exactly where you are right now, in the in-between, where the old identity has dissolved enough to stop working, but the new one hasn't yet solidified enough to trust. And from inside that threshold, every unfamiliar step looks like one more thing to lose. What I want you to understand, what I need you to actually receive, rather than just intellectually process, is that the lostness you feel right now is not evidence that healing broke something. It is the evidence that the structure which needed to dissolve has dissolved far enough for something real to begin. The caterpillar inside the chrysalis doesn't become a butterfly by staying intact. It liquefies almost completely. There is a biological phase where it is neither what it was nor what it will be. Just unrecognizable potential suspended in the dark. And if you opened the chrysalis during that phase, because the dissolution looked like destruction, you would end the entire process. You are in the chrysalis, so the dissolution is not the disaster. The dissolution is the mechanism. What you need in this phase is not more content, explaining the process, not another framework, not motivation to push through. You need one stable reference point that doesn't move while everything else is restructuring. One frequency that remains consistent while your own frequency is finding its new home. That is precisely what I built the mirror practice for, not for the person in crisis, for the person in the in-between, for the one standing in the quiet aftermath of a genuine transformation, wondering why freedom feels so much like grief. It is not a curse, it is not a program with modules and milestones. It is a biological anchor for the threshold crossing. It gives your nervous system a consistent signal of safety while the old architecture completes its dissolution and the new one begins its construction. 24 people have found the first anchor point. One has stayed long enough to feel the new architecture begin to solidify. The reset is free. It is one It's one breath of a nervous system that remembers safety is available even inside the dissolution. The full mirror practice is €19. It is the complete anchor system. For the crossing, you are not going backwards, so you are not failing the process. You are in the most important and most disorienting and most misunderstood phase of the entire journey. The old identity dying is not the tragedy. The tragedy would be rebuilding it because the dissolution got uncomfortable. Stay in the Chrysalis. Drop between in the comments if you know exactly with which threshold I'm describing. I am Tudor. I stayed in the dissolution until I understood what it was building. I'll see you on the other side.